And one of the things we learned is that there was a particular country that implemented before the legal framework was in place, and it didn't do very well. So we learned that lesson from that country and said to the policymakers, not in a disrespectful way, but in a firm way, that we could not go any further without the legal framework. And so that is why we put so much emphasis on getting the laws through in 2017. Now, let me go on to discuss. That's just the nutshell of the history. Then you can ask any questions in relation to that. Now, why do we need a net? Many of us in this room, in fact, I would say all of us in this room, have many IDs. We have our driver's license. Those of us who are female always have a handbag and wish we could not have a handbag, but somehow can't do without it. But we have our driver's license. We may have in there our national ID, NIS. I have my NIS card. Some people don't. I tend to carry it. I have my TRN. I'm luckily got my TRN when they gave you the little card. Now they give you a piece of paper, I gather. But I have my TRN. I have my work ID in my bag. And I think that's all I have in the bag right now. Oh, my voter's ID. I have my voter's ID. My passport is at home. All of those, what I've just described, are what we call functional IDs. They're not national. We refer to the voter's ID as a national ID. It is not. It is the right to legally vote. It's your identification for voting. Your driver's license is your license to be on the road driving a vehicle legally. Your passport is a document that allows you to leave the island legitimately and visit another country. All of these are functional IDs. We do not in Jamaica have a national ID. And if anybody here is a farmer, you'd have a farmer's ID. If you're a member registered with the National Health Fund, you would get another ID. So there are many IDs, and all of the government agencies that need to register you end up giving you something that identifies you for that purpose. And that is why they're called functional IDs. Now, why do we need the national ID? Many reasons. One, ease of doing business. What will happen in the future is that because the ID is going to be able to securely verify who you are, you're not going to need to provide more than the one ID to do business. The days of trying to find a JP to give you a reference will be in the past. Yeah. Even the bankers, Bank of Jamaica currently is working on the regulations. So all of those, the burdens of trying to verify who you are will be in the past because the one ID is going to be sufficient. And the reason it is going to be sufficient is that it's secure and valid. The reason why many places now ask for more than one is because they're not sure whether what you're giving them is actually authentic. Because many of us in the island, I don't want to overstate it, I don't want to say many, but there are enough of us in the island who have more than one ID. More than one driver's license, same person. More than one TRN, same person. Okay? This new ID is going to be robust and secure, and therefore you will not need anything else. Now, it will, of course, have a positive impact on reducing identity theft. And I'm going to go into more details as I go along, as why I'm saying all of this. It will allow us to enter the digital space in a more secure way. Yes, we're here. We're doing business online, many of us. The banks in particular have been the leaders in this area, and businesses have followed, other businesses. But we in government also want to allow you to do business with us online. And when we say online, we mean from start to finish. Because what we want is that we deliver a better, more efficient service to the citizen. And therefore, the citizen will have a choice whether to go in your car, on a bus, through the traffic, to an agency, to do business, join a line, spend maybe 2-3 hours, as opposed to sitting behind your computer and doing the same business with that government agency. So the idea is that eventually we will modernize and all services will be offered online, similar to what the private sector is now doing in many cases. Now, in order to move into this digital space, because as I said, we're there already, the new ID is going to make it more secure for us to do that. And again, I'll come back to that as I continue to make the presentation. Social and financial inclusion, very important. We are the privileged. This room, all of us in here, are the privileged in our society. One of the things we have to be cognizant of, we have our fellow Jamaicans who have no ID. When you cannot verify who you are locked out of potential possibilities and opportunities. The group that suffers the most in Jamaica are the persons who leave school at 15 and are not yet 18. They cannot get a driver's license. They cannot get a voter's ID. So that group struggles more than any other group in terms of verifying who they are for even employment opportunities. The only possibility is a passport. Now, if you're coming from a family that is struggling financially and you don't plan to travel, it is a very expensive thing to go and get a passport. So that group is very vulnerable with lack of identification. The other major group that suffers is our disabled community, and particularly the mentally challenged. Because under the law, they cannot get a voter's ID. And they obviously will not be able to get a driver's license. So that group is also a very vulnerable group within our society. And the national ID will address that issue. Know your customer for the banking sector, the financial sector. I need not spend much time on that, but this new system will assist greatly, and the financial institutions will be able to verify each of us as clients in a much more effective, less costly manner than what they now have to do. Think about it. If you go to open an account at a bank, they usually ask for minimum one, most of them ask for 2 IDs plus references. And when you leave, they have officers in the back end checking to see if what you've given them is actually legitimate, because of the nature of the fraudulent activity, as I mentioned, where some persons have more than one TRN, etc. Again, another benefit to the new system will be reduction in costs within government in maintaining so many different databases over time. And obviously, if we reduce costs in one area, we have more money to spend on the things that really matter to us. as citizens. Now, the institutional framework. What we have recommended and was accepted is that we create a new entity called the National Identification and Registration Authority. This authority will be responsible for identity management as well as civil registration. Civil registration is now done by the RGD. So, what will happen is that RGD, the functions of RGD, will be going into this new entity, NERA, and we are modernizing RGD. So a lot of the project money within our project is actually being spent to upgrade RGD, give them a new civil registration system, as well as to digitize all the records. This is major because RGD has not had any capital injection for years. We all complain as citizens about how long it takes for them to do anything. To be fair to them, the reason it takes so long is because none of the records are, well, I wouldn't want to say none, but it's a minute amount of records that are digitized. So they have to do searches manually. It takes a lot of time and effort. And that is why sometimes we as citizens get annoyed with them. So the project budget, a lot of it is going into modernize, transform RGD. We're looking at their business processes to re-engineer them. I always think of, every time I think of that word, I think of ensemble. The re-engineering business processes, etc., to improve their systems. Again, you can ask any further questions on that, because I'm just moving on. That's the only thing I say about the institutional framework. I'm open to questions about it, however. Okay. How will it work? This is how it will work. We will register, enroll to get our new NIDS. And we're calling it NIDS. It's our ID. It is free to the public. So there'll be no cost to anyone. And I say that because that's important for those who really have a difficulty now being able to get an ID, particularly those below 18. Okay? Very important. It will apply to all citizens of Jamaica, those who are ordinarily resident in Jamaica, as well as to newborns. Now it ties back, if you remember, we're marrying the functions of RGD to identity. So when a newborn gets the birth certificate, they will get their national identification number at the same time. Those of us who are already here on the planet, in Jamaica, will register and get their national identification number. So you get a number. That number is a 9-digit number, and we intentionally made it 9-digit. It's the same digit as the TRN. And we intentionally did that because we did not want private sector persons having to go and format whatever systems they now have and make it a cost to you. So that's one of the reasons why we've stuck with a 9-digit, similar to the TRN. The NIN, National Identification Number, stays with you for life. So you get it at birth. Those of us who are here will get it when we enroll, and it stays with you for life. When you pass, the number is retired and never used again, never given to anyone. Okay? The card stays with you, but the card has to be renewed. Okay? The card you get from age 6. So newborns up to age 6 will get the number. But as of age 6, you get a national identification card with your number. You are going to be required to renew the card every so often, depending on your age. If you're between 6 to 18, it's every 5 years. Over 18 up to age 60, it's every 10 years. Over 60, every 15 years. Why you renew your card more frequently when you're young? Because your facial image changes more rapidly when you are younger.
Makes sense.
Okay? But bear in mind, and I want to make that, I'm stressing the distinction between the card and the number. The number does not change. That stays with you for life. Now, the database, all of the information will be on the National Civil and Identification Database. And the law actually is written in such a way that we have to use international best practices to maintain this database. And it's written into the law. And this was done to ensure that we can't fall down at any point in terms of maintaining this particular database. We have to be constantly looking at what is going on globally and keeping up with whatever technology changes there are in order to keep this database secure. Restrictions and disclosure of information. One of the things I want to stress is that your information in the database or any information about you cannot be disclosed to anyone except with your permission. And I'm going to give you an example of how it works. So it has to be with your permission. The second way is through a court order. So if you don't give permission to someone to verify who you are, then the only other way is if somebody gets a court order. However, in order to get a court order, you have to fall within certain categories. So it's not an arbitrary thing. You can't just go to the court and say, I'm interested in getting information about this young lady, and you'd have to explain to the court what it is, why it is that you want that. And there are categories that you will have to fall within. And they're all in relation to criminal activity. So for example, you would have to say to the court that you have detected that the person is about to or has committed a crime. You would have to explain to the court that it's in the national interest to get this information. You would have to point out that it is in relation to an investigation under the Proceeds of Crime Act, or whether it's a public emergency. So it's not an arbitrary thing to get a court order. Now, I'm going to go back to that issue of giving permission. How the system is going to work is that, remember, it's an identity management system. So you're going to get your card. Think of it. Let's do a practical example. You get your card. I get my card. I go to the supermarket. I purchase goods. I'm using my credit card. Currently, depending on the level, the amount of money, they ask you for your ID. Right now, I would give my driver's license. When I have a national ID, I'm going to give my national ID. The young lady is going to the cashier, will look on the photograph, look on the name on the credit card, give me back, end of argument, go on. Life goes on. Similar to what happens now. So that is using the card just for your own facial image to determine who you are, not a major thing. You go to someone to pick up a check, it's in your name. They say to you, can I see your ID? Right now, we pull out driver's license, most of us. In the future, I will take out my national ID, she checks my name, check my facial image, whatever, satisfied that yes, it looks like me, I sign for the check and I leave. You go to the bank, you want to open an account. Now, because it's banking, they want a little bit more than just a facial image and looking at the thing and saying filing and more fraudulent piece of ID. And life goes on, you open your account and you move on. What will happen? My card is really who I say I am, and it's been verified. So one of the things I want to stress is that nobody is going to be able to go into the database to scroll through your information. That is not how the system works. No, obviously, maybe I take responsibility not explaining that properly. It's not a matter that they just ask, can I get permission, and then I say yes. There's going to have to be some method of verifying that you have given that permission. So, Nero will not just automatically give that information without some authorization. That's the first thing. Secondly, how the system is going to work is that not everybody will have access to even asking Nero. You're going to have to be